Hi everybody, I'm just going to juxtapose a few things. I'll leave a couple of links underneath this, which is to a couple of videos that I've made recently, and please do check all of the links under those videos because it's very, very important that people get informed. And I'm sorry, but yes, it will mean that some people will realise that they were wrong. The people who voted for Brexit, saying that, you know, they're voting against globalism and all this. I'm sorry, you know, I'm not here to gloat. This isn't about gloating, okay? This is about just realising that you were wrong. Get informed now. You were misinformed. Nobody is waiting to hit you over the head with a stick for making a wrong decision when you've had very powerful organisations like Cambridge Analytica, who were directly hired by the Tories, okay? The Tories, check Vote Leave, check WikiLeaks, Vote Leave, and see all the Tory MPs. I think there was only one Labour MP included, and they did hire, they hired a corporate global intelligence service, Cambridge Analytica, that uses tactics of blackmail and bribery and entrapment and lies to engineer the kind of political decisions that they want from the people. They peddled outright lies, they misinformed people, and they turned the whole debate into people who either were against immigration or people who support immigration. That is what the whole debate about being in the EU came down to. And this wild theory that if we stayed in the EU we were going to be invaded by hordes of Muslim refugees, okay? Never mind the fact that these people are actually fleeing ISIS, that countries like Britain have actually established in Iraq and Libya, and now they want to do the same in Syria, and they're supporting Saudi Arabia's disgusting evil actions against the people and the children of the Yemen. Okay, so we're dealing with a government that supports ISIS. Understand that, okay? A government that MI5 controlled Abu Hamza, Hookman, okay, who was out on the streets of London preaching hate and recruiting people to be sent to the ISIS training camps. That's what was happening, okay? And these Tories saying, oh, we want to remain, they were liars. Accept that they are liars. They never wanted to remain in the EU. You will see from the links that are under the video links that I'm sharing here, you will see that David Cameron and Theresa May consistently were fighting within the EU to try and scrap human rights, to scrap workers' rights, and even in the Brexit deal they wanted to include loss of rights to all workers who are doing 0-hour contracts, which really, you know, it's a very tenuous form of employment as it is, but still there were some rights that workers had within those contracts, and the Tories, as part of the Brexit deal, were trying to put in plans to scrap all rights granted to 0-hour contract workers. And that is really serious, and that's why the Brexit deals talks have failed, because the Tories consistently want to introduce anti-humanity, inhumane legislation that the EU just cannot accept, you see, because to be included in the EU market, to have any benefits at all from the EU, the nation does need to uphold certain principles, and the prime one being human rights, and that's the prime principle that the Tories want to scrap, okay? And they want to replace it with their Bill of Rights, which has been written in secret. And why should we be living by a Bill of Rights from the kind of people who've used economic terrorism that they've titled austerity to murder 120,000 British people. And I reckon that's a mean estimate. Okay? Never mind, as if that wasn't as bad enough, the 120,000 people, do not forget the immense misery that has been caused of people who haven't died, but nonetheless they've lost their homes, their lives have been disrupted, relationships have fallen apart, people have lost their children. It's absolutely despicable. The depression, the rises of illness, because stress causes illness. They know that. So, you know, cause stress to disabled and sick people. Well, obviously, they're going to get a lot worse. Illnesses have been made worse and people have died as a result of the worsening of their illnesses. And that is economic terrorism, because they knew full well what they were doing. They knew, and they know very well that, you know, putting a young job seeker on a sanction of 3 months because they were 5 minutes late for signing on, that is equivalent to a fine. So you add up 3 months worth of JSA, okay? Add it up and see how much it comes to. It's about £70 a week. So that means that for committing the offence of being 5 minutes late to sign on, then you are fined how many hundreds of pounds, when you've got no money. So the only money they can take off you is your lawful entitlement. Okay, so that is equivalent. That is kangaroo banana republic justice, isn't it? Because there is no law that says you must not be 5 minutes late for signing on, and it's such a serious crime, we're going to fine you hundreds of pounds, leave you literally penniless, and make you homeless, and force you to beg on the streets, okay? And then when you do that, when you actually do that, oh, suddenly you're going to be in serious trouble, aren't you? You're going to be in serious trouble. Because what's going to happen is that then you're going to be fined or imprisoned. Okay? People, British people, are being imprisoned for asking for food on the street. Apparently, that's a criminal behaviour order, you know. Begging. Persistent begging. Apparently it's antisocial. A man fined £105 after a child dropped £2 in his sleeping bag. Could it be any more obvious what the absolute disgusting nature of this, in which you get a load of criminal bankers who've stolen billions and trillions off the British people? They've been rewarded with huge bailouts that we are expected to pay for, and every future generation, our children, are expected to pay for, and they get away with it because they're too big to prosecute. Okay? But meanwhile, British people who've been robbed of their livelihoods, their homes, they're the ones being imprisoned. They're the ones being fined. Okay? These sentences that are being issued against people in the courts are a direct result of the unlawful sentences that the DWP, the privatised DWP, is dishing out to people that they're supposed to be serving. Because the benefits is, do you remember that name? Benefits service. The benefits are ours, and we've got these service providers that stand between us and our lawful entitlement. Okay? And that service used to be run by the government. It used to employ a lot more people than it's employing now. The government privatised it. They've handed it over to global corporate bodies who make a profit. They make a profit out of providing that service, and they get government subsidies, and they pay barely any tax. Now, how does a private service provider earn money out of giving benefits to people? Well, obviously, when they put somebody on a sanction, do they write and tell the government that, oh, no money for this person because we've sanctioned them? No, they get the money, right? That is what is happening. They get the money. Every penny that they've sanctioned off British people and left them homeless goes into their pockets. Now, that is a crime. That is a crime. This is a crime being committed against British people, and that's why, you know, in the video, one of the very short video links under this, it is a very short video. It is asking for Theresa May and the Tories to be locked up on criminal charges of terrorism and manslaughter and theft and fraud, because they have committed a fraud against the British people, and they have committed perjury in order to persuade people to vote out of the EU at a time when everybody's already suffering terrible economic stress. Okay, the price rises, the costs of living are way above what people are actually earning as a wage, to the extent that people who once were earning a wage enough to live a good, comfortable life, that they could afford to go on holiday and they weren't struggling to pay the bills, they are now living the same standard of life as people on benefits were living in, you know, the 1990s. So that is a regression. It's a regression for us, it's a regression for the people, and a progression for the corporation. Now, as I've explained in the Brexit video below, you know, we are talking about people, corporations that are able to bring in their own workforce from abroad. And the only limit that the government has put on that is that the workers they bring in must be earning 30,000 a year or more. So when we look at an organisation like DynCorp, and I'll leave the link under this video, go and check it out for yourself, okay, you will see that their staff, all of their staff, the military, everybody, because DynCorp is a global military corporation, they're all earning well over, most of them well over 30,000 a year. Okay, now the issue that I've raised is that I consider it very, very serious when a global corporate military service like DynCorp or G4S, when they can bring in people from anywhere in the world to serve as in their military, in their intelligence, social engineering, and don't forget Cambridge Analytica has connections to these global military corporations as well. They're part of that global military. That is a threat of treason, because that is a threat of a foreign army being imported into Britain that could at some point be used to control the British people when people start protesting in huge numbers, which they will, when finally the penny drops that yes, they are going to scrap your human rights. Yes, that is what Brexit was really all about. Yes, you have been deceived and bamboozled, but by then it will be too late. And that is why I've made my videos, and that is why I'm asking people, please share the information. Now, as I say, this government does need locking up. They need kicking out and criminal charges brought against them. And for that, I ask the police and intelligence to get active now, because, you know, this is about your children as well. Okay, this is about your children's future as well, and it does not bode well for anybody in Britain, really. You know, even those that are thinking now that they're going to benefit off this in some way, I'm sorry, you're all going to lose, and you're going to lose big style. And the richer you are in this country, the more independently wealthy you are, the more likely you are, you know, the more you've got to lose. That's the fact of it. Because, you know, I'm not a person that preaches what is called hard left socialism. Okay, I'm a person that supports a socio-capitalist society. I fully support the idea of independent people, families, having businesses and running those businesses in Britain. Okay, and employing British people. That to me is good. I'm also supporting a social society in the sense that, look, yeah, you can't, this world does produce money and things to be capitalised on, but at the end of the day, the capital must never ever forget the humanity which produces that and sustains it. Okay, and so therefore the social needs investing in equally. And when you invest in the social and you've got a happy society, production rises. People are happy to go to work. People work harder in jobs that are satisfactory, in the sense that, you know, they're not being overworked, they're not overstressed, they have time to spend with the families, they're not working full time but at the same time really struggling to pay the bills. Okay? People are more likely to find a job when, if in a period of unemployment, they're more likely to find a job or find some way to improve themselves to get, you know, to get better at employment, if they're allowed to claim benefits and, you know, have time and space to look for somewhere and at the same time manage to keep a home. Once you've made somebody homeless, the chances of them getting a job are minimal. Now, I'm very disturbed because on my Facebook yesterday, there's a lady, I'll leave you the link to it, she's come on and, you know, she was told not to say anything, but they're basically being inundated. She provides a service at a food bank. They're being inundated with requests for tents and sleeping bags and food, because there's that many people now losing their homes. And especially this universal credit rollout, which is yet another major theft of people. Okay, that is what it is. A social murder by design. They're in the changeover to it, they're making people wait 10 weeks for their money. So people can't pay their rent because universal credit is one payment which includes rent. At the same time, they are using this change to steal more money off people, to cut people out of it as well. And this is yet more theft, and it is actually more harassment. It's intimidation and harassment, because how many changes and upheavals, economic upheavals, have people who, especially people on income support, people who are sick and disabled, how many upheavals have they had? You know, we've had this changeover onto PIP, which cut loads of people off. You know, my sister, she was made homeless, she had a DLA stop, she was seriously ill, she still is, seriously ill, long-term sickness, and she actually received a care component as part of her DLA. All of it was stopped. She was put on ESA, okay, and for a while she had no money at all for months and months, and and in that period she became homeless, and she was never able to pick herself up after that, until a year later we managed to get her full benefits restored, and now she's on PIP. So that's what the changeover to PIP did to people like my sister, okay, who suffers from physical and mental health problems, professionally diagnosed. And so how many people? My sister was lucky that she had family and friends to assist, but it was a period as she got really ill, her illness really did. She completely deteriorated, and as I say, she lost her home. She had to stay at various friends and family's houses for over a year, okay? And she is a person who needs her own home, because like I say, she's got mental health problems. Her children, her families, they're working parents. So how can they cope, you know? But we did. We managed to cope. We managed to carry her through it. And now she's back on PIP and getting her own home. But that was over a year she was left like that. And that is exactly what happened. And that now this is going to happen again, isn't it? They're doing it again. This is harassment. This is economic terrorism. Because you know, if somebody comes to your house and steals all your money and all your food and kicks you out of your home, that is terrorism, isn't it? That is what is being done to the Palestinian people, isn't it? That this government supports that as well, doesn't it? It supports Israel turfing the Palestinian families out of their homes and off their lands. This government supports it. This government supports Saudi Arabia, doesn't it? They support, you know, a country where women, she's only just, if she was an Arab woman, she's only just got the right to drive. If she could afford a car. And she would need her husband's permission as well. Right? A country where little girls are literally sold into marriage. Where, according to an article in The Guardian a couple of years ago, and I'll leave you the link to it under this, it's perfectly legal in Saudi Arabia to marry an hour-old baby. Right? Oh, and the world is so shocked and disgusted at what's happened to Mr. Khashoggi. Well, why do you think he left that country? Why do you think that he's been speaking out against that regime? Why do you think they wanted to kill him? But, you know, apparently, as long as you've got lots and lots of money and something that people like her want, then, you know, do what you like. Do what you like. You know, and I've just written a letter to the House of Lords, and I'll leave you the Facebook link to it, because I've published it as a Facebook note, saying, you know, I am disgusted that here in the 21st century I'm having to entertain, even entertain, the idea of Luciferian law, because, you know, that is directly the whole of the law, isn't it? Might equals right to do as thy will. That is defined as the whole of the law in Aleister Crowley's book, of the law. Check it out. That is what we're living by. That is what she's operating on. Luciferian law. Well, I'm sorry. That is a criminal. That's not a law. That's just freedom to commit crime. And say, well, I'm rich and powerful. Leave me alone. You're not going to touch me. Well, do you know what? Arrest her. Police, arrest her. She's committed a crime. David Cameron, you know, Gordon Bowden, he really has done his best to try and inform. God bless this man. And nobody's listening to him. Instead, everybody's clamouring around Tommy Robinson. Oh, who gets invited onto Newsnight. And recently, even attended the House... he was invited to attend a parliamentary dinner, right? He was invited to attend a parliamentary dinner. Will you see him being invited to attend a parliamentary dinner? You know, a retired RAF engineer who's given his life working for this country and who has done amazing research and work exposing David Cameron's crimes. David Cameron, who gave us this referendum in the first place. And why? Why was there suddenly a referendum? Because the Tories, the EU would not accept the Tory proposals for scrapping our human rights, for scrapping our workers' rights, for scrapping environmental protection laws. You know, this government even tried to block EU legislation to ban pesticides that are harming bees. Okay, because of the threat to bees, the EU has passed legislation against certain pesticides. David Cameron, the Tories, they tried to block it. They tried to block it. Okay, that's why they want out of the EU. They want to be able to use any dangerous pesticide available. They don't care. They don't care about us. Well, I'm sorry, when a government is not serving its people in a democracy, what is its purpose? Who are the people here? Well, obviously it's not us. We're cattle, aren't we? We're animals, according to them. Ian Duncan Smith called us all stock at a tribunal about what he's been doing to the benefit system. He referred to the British people as stock. That's been removed off the internet. I've tried my best to find it, but I saw it live on TV because I watched that tribunal, and I remember everybody making a noise about it, and he went, you know, that's what we call them, stock. So, you know, this is a government that has decided animals feel no pain. Okay, look, I'll get you the link. Here it is. The Tories have voted that animals feel no pain, can't feel pain as part of the EU bill, marking the beginning of our anti-science Brexit. Yeah. All animals, apart from humans, have no emotions or feelings. Well, you know, when we're being called stock, that's why they can treat us like that. That is exactly how they are treating us, isn't it? Like animals that can't feel emotion or pain. Only they, the rich people and the corporations. Don't forget, the corporations have wangled it illegally so that lawfully they are defined as a person. Okay, the corporation, the global corporations are people. And that's who this government recognises as people. The corporations, heartless corporations, oh, they've got emotions and feelings. But when it comes to the poor, we have no emotions or feelings because we're cattle, we're stock. Understand the mentality that we are dealing with. And so why have they done this? Because they want to carry on hunting foxes, ripping them apart with hounds. They want to kill badgers. They want to be able to have the slaughterhouses, cruel, inhumane methods of murdering animals. I mean, a lot of people aren't aware that they are. I mean, it is absolutely dreadful, but they are doing this. You know, they drop hens into scalding water while they're alive to remove their feathers. They are doing the same to pigs. Okay? These are the things that they are doing. Look, think again about the meat on your plate. I know a lot of people are squeamish. They wouldn't want to go and actually kill an animal themselves. But if they had to do it, I'm sure they'd do it in a humane way. You wouldn't think of killing a pig by dumping it into boiling hot water, would you? And when it screams, don't worry, that's not real. That's not real. You just ignore it screaming because it doesn't feel any pain. And when the people on the ground scream because they've got nowhere to live and no job and they've lost the family, the relationships broke down, they've got nothing, no one hears them scream, do they? And that is a crime. It is a crime against humanity, what they have been doing. And any single government that threatens to remove our human rights, they are a set of criminals. And it is time to lock them up. And what they've done to the police force, what they've done to the fire service, what they've done to all the major services in Britain, they've absolutely slashed them, and they want to set up privatised police forces. Now again, when you privatise police forces are going to be controlled by global corporations for a profit, expect the worst, people. Expect the very worst. And for the police yourselves, okay, oh, they might be offering you nice incentives to get you all in there now, but once that's all there is, expect waging and living standards to drop like a brick. Because that's what they do. They entice you in. They're like the wicked witch in the house, aren't they? Full of cakes. The house made out of cakes and icing sugar and looking all sparkly and nice. Oh, come into this house, look, I've got lots of food, lots of nice food for you. You get in there, it's a witch. She wants to stick you in the oven and eat you. And that's exactly what these are doing. They're fucking vampire cannibals. Understand it. That is what they are. That is what they are doing. So, you know, this is what Britain's supporting. This is what Theresa May, this Tory government, is supporting. And actually the whole of Parliament, the Labour Party, I'm sorry, if you can still stay seated in that house of filth and crime, then you are participating. You are participating in crime. You are complicit. Okay? These going... Now, hunting is banned. But, oh, apparently, that's all right. They can go out fox hunting. You know, look. And I've said here... And they want to ban the burqa. There's calls to ban the burqa. Well, what about these? What about this? Eh? Who's wearing a burqa here? What for? So they can go out killing foxes. This is the reality. Okay? This is the reality of this, the so-called opposition to these. 700,000. I tell you now, you know when 700,000 people get out into London about something, then that means that there is a massive, huge support in this country for what they're saying. That is a massive statement, and every politician needs to wake up. Because I tell you now, when you start trying to remove our human rights and remove all the protections, you're going to face trouble, okay? And you deserve it. Because people have a right to stand up and actually fight. We have a right to fight to defend our rights. So you better bloody remember that, Parliament. We have a right to fight if we have to, because that is war. This is war. When you are threatening our human rights and everything that men like my grandfather gave their lives for, and remove all the advances that we've gained since World War II, after the huge sacrifices of 2 world wars and the immense suffering that the British people endured for how long, and the immense suffering that that same ruling class placed on the rest of the world in our name, yeah, and we got nothing. People were living in squalor, okay, and that's where they want us back to. That is what these Tories have said. They want us back to Victorian Britain, and they want the workforce, the British workforce, to be competitive with that of Asia, right? Is that why my granddad gave his life? So that we could go back to Victorian Britain and be competitive with countries where they've got no human rights or health service or social care. People need to wake up. They really do. They need to wake up. They really need to wake up. Because, you know, why is it that this little group of people, look how many police are surrounding them to protect them. Oh, why do they need that much protection? Is it because people hate them so much? Because, and it isn't that the sane people hate the individuals. They hate what they're preaching. They hate what they're standing up for. Division, attack, hatred. We hate their hate. We don't love their hate. We hate their hate. But look, they're having to surround themselves. You know, the police are having to surround them. This is... You know, they had like a little... They had a rally in Manchester on the same day as the referendum march in London. It attracted about 1,200 people. Manchester, 1,200 people. So out of the whole of Manchester, only 1,200 people were moved enough to attend that rally on behalf of Brexit. But if you get online, you'd think everybody in Britain wanted Brexit, because they're still employing the trolls. Don't think Vote Leave has stopped. They're still at it, okay? They're still at it. They've got armies of trolls online. One person can be 100 people making comments. Yeah, F off. I've had it all when I go on certain groups in Facebook, i.e. Britain is the people, and you go on and you put one thing on about any benefit that we had from the EU, and you'll get comment after comment after comment. Oh, they just want to bring Muslims in, blah, 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 blah. Just a load of absolute rubbish. But I know the trolls. I know the trolls. Very rarely do they use their real names. So we need to wake up to it. And that is why I've shared the videos I have, because like I say, you know, this alone is really serious. What does that mean? So it means that anybody can do anything they like to their pets then, doesn't it? Because, you know, anybody who's got a pet, you know, don't you, that your pet can't feel any pain. You know that, don't you? So, you know, go and kick your dog. Okay? Kick your dog, you know, stamp on your cat. Because at the end of the day, they can't feel any pain. Now, for them to say that, I'm sorry, this is just absolute madness. We need to remove it. Remove it from power. Stand up, people. Get a backbone, because I'm telling you now, your children's future is at stake here. And I'm sick of people ignoring me. Why do you think I'm doing this? Am I getting paid for it? Am I standing for power? I'm doing it because I care, because I have suffered so much to survive in this country, and I've witnessed the good, hard-working people, the people who work as police, who work in the NHS, who teach the people on the ground who work hard, who love, who care for each other. I've witnessed the people who are suffering from disabilities, illnesses. Okay, I care. I have been active in helping all of these people, the people around me, because I'm no big shot in this world. What can I do? I do what I can to help the people around me. Where I see the need, I do it. Okay? And we all need to do that. We all need to start helping each other, but we do need to stand up for our rights. And, you know, it's going to need not just 700,000 people in London. We're going to need 700,000 people in all the major cities coming out now. Coming out, not to riot, not in violence. We don't want none of that, because that's what these gits really want. They'd love it. They'd love it. Riots, okay? Do not riot, but come out in peaceful protest about what this government is doing, and with one demand: we want them out and we want them arrested. We want the criminals among them arrested. Okay? The ones that are threatening to remove our human rights, that is a threat to commit crimes against us. And yeah, that is serious. It is serious. And too many people are ignoring it, and or they're not sharing the information, or they're just taking it casually. Well, there'll be nothing casual about life once your human rights have gone. So you better wake up, people.